Okay, hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about things that matter and what's going on in our society. And we have Dean Blake on, and we have a lot of people. Hopefully they'll be joining us today. Let me turn that off. That noise is distracting. Take a minute, and then the fan will turn off. Okay, so what's happening today is, well, what's been happening all week, the New Zealand shooting. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to be our topic. And maybe we can talk about some other things. Of course, people can call in, 617-282-0230, or my cell phone, 508-215-8362. But before we talk about the New Zealand shooting, there's some questions that you, I believe, need to think about, try to answer. First thing is, what are you? What are you? Now, you ask that to someone, you meet someone and you say to them, oh, what are you? And what kind of answer would you give them? What kind of answer would they give you? Well, let's see. Now, people might say their lineage. Quite often, people will say their lineage. They'll say, oh, I'm European, or I'm Vietnamese. Don't forget European, that's too general. They might say that they're Polish, or Italian, or they might say that they're Vietnamese. Or they might say they're Cape Verdean. What would you say? Someone said, what are you? Well, how about this too? A lot of people, you might have come across this. Some people might say that they're Jewish or Muslim. They'll be telling you their religion now. That's different. That's different than their lineage. Queer enough, though, people won't say that they're Christian. Generally speaking, when you ask them, they won't say that. They won't. Oh, good. The sound went off. That was really annoying. What else might you say if someone says, what are you? I would say I'm hungry. But anyway, but people might say where they're born. Interesting. Another thing people might say, or what you might say, is your citizenship. Of course, if you said you were American, that'd be racist, I guess, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, there's something to think about as we discuss the New Zealand shooting. And yeah, what went on with the New Zealand shooting? A terrible thing. Violence is always terrible. But another thing I think we should think about this too before we get into the actual what's going through the shooter's mind, is let's talk about culture. Is culture important? Culture important to you? What is culture? Or nationalism? What is nationalism? What does nationalism mean to you? Is that good or is that bad to have culture, to have nationalism? Well, okay, let's look at some countries. How about Japan? Let's look at Japan. Japan is a very proud nation, very hardworking people. They have very strong borders, very strong culture. They're very strong. You'll see them at I went to Japan. Actually, I posted a picture on my Facebook today when I was in Japan. And when you're in Japan, or you might think of Japan as very good, proud, wonderful people, you might look up to them. Even though you're here in America, you look up to Japan. Okay, good. There's a lot of other countries like that, like Japan, that have culture and have nationalism. But how about America? How about America? If we have nationalism or culture here, well, CNN will say that that's racist. They'll say the American flag is racist. They'll say everything is racist about America. They'll say Donald Trump's racist. They'll say white people are racist. Well, how about Japan? How come Japan? That's not racist. And you know what's really interesting here in, especially around here in a liberal cesspool like Dorchester, the people here will wave the Haiti flag, the Spanish flag, the whatever flag. They'll wave all sorts of flags. What they won't wave, however, is the American flag, because the American flag is racist, according to CNN, but it's not racist. Actually, think about it. The Japan flag are for Japan people. Japan people are a race. That's arguably racist. The Haiti flag is for Haiti people. That's arguably racist. Any country flag arguably is racist. However, the American flag is from people all over the world. It doesn't just represent the American Indian, which is our native people here. So therefore, the American flag is the least racist flag in the world by far. No comparison. Yet CNN will tell you the American flag is the racist flag. When in reality, it's the only flag that's not racist. So yeah, they lie to you. And you just, oh, American flag racist, because you're stupid. And a lot of people are. But not all of you are stupid. I think over time, you'll start to realize that they lie. They lie like Hillary. And they love Hillary and they lie like Hillary. So, no, the American flag is not racist at all. It's a very nice flag. And it represents people from all over the world. And is the least racist flag that there is, by far. Okay, so that's something to think about. Is nationalism, is culture a good thing versus this bad thing that some people would want you to think about? How about this? Think about this. How about when the dichotomy here, the left is always talking about preservation of culture when it comes to, say, there's an island somewhere and there's some people on this island, they're very secluded and they don't want to be bothered by other people. And this was just in the news just a few weeks ago. And there will be people on the left that will say, these people have the right to their culture, to their freedom. They don't want to be bothered by the rest of the world, and they have the right to be left alone. At the same time, the same people on the left will say to you, oh, these people, look at the way they're living. They have no internet. They have no BMW. They have no electricity, whatever it might be. We must go in there and help them. We must give them these things that they don't even know about, because they'll be better off with that, because we're wonderful, we're the best, and we know everything, and we need to make sure that they have these things. So you get both arguments from the left. They'll say both of these things to you, and they'll say that you're a terrible person, no matter what you choose. If you want to go in there and help them, then you're a terrible person for invading them. And if you don't help them, you're a terrible person for not giving up your money to them for not helping them. So which is it? This is the left just trying to say that you're a bad person, you're awful, and try to cause trouble. This is what they do. They try to stir up trouble. So when it comes to culture, to what extent, even if we're trying to help a culture, should we even help them? Interesting to think about, especially if they don't want your help. But the next question then becomes, what do you do when someone invades your culture? How should we handle that? And how should the New Zealand shooter What should he do? What was he thinking? I talked about this yesterday briefly. I finished reading his paper. He wrote a 75-page manifesto, and I finished reading it. And we will get into that now, I guess, what he was thinking about. What he was thinking about was not just killing people. He's not out there to kill people, and he has nothing against any group or any culture. No religious sect or ethnic or whatever. He wasn't into that. What he was doing was trying to preserve the white culture, his European culture. That was his goal. He's a preservationist, a white preservationist, not nothing against these people, but he was trying to defend European culture. Now that might seem, well, what he did definitely was radical. I mean, violence is never the answer. Well, I don't want to say never, because you should never say never, right? You ever hear that expression? But let's take a look at what's going on, which might be the name of my show, I think. What's going on? I'm trying to think of a name. Anyone wants to figure out a name for me? So let's look at France. France is turning into a shithole. Let's look at Germany. Germany's turning into shithole. These countries have been under left rule now for several years. They've had their borders open, and their culture is under attack. And the people there are revolting against their government and this attack that they're under. Do you agree with the people? Do you think that they should maybe tidy up their borders and try to preserve their culture? The government's socialistic ideas and open borders have done quite a toll on those countries, many countries around the world. And now the people are starting to fight back. Well, let me ask you this. What if you went to Saudi Arabia and you acted the fool that you were American? We do some funny, crazy shit. So let's say you went to Saudi Arabia and you started acting kind of a little bit outrageous. How do you think they would treat you? Do you think they would be accepting of your cultural differences? Do you think if you were gay and you were flaunting it around the streets, what do you think they would do to you? Well, they would throw you off a building. That's what they do with gays. And what do they do with women? Well, if you show your face, they stone you in the street. Yet the left will say that these countries, they'll say, have their culture, and we, when we're American and go there, we must conform to their culture, because that's what they have decided for their culture. Yet when the Saudi Arabian Muslim terrorist comes here and chops your head off because that's their religion, is that acceptable to you? I don't think so. It's not acceptable. Well, why not? That's their culture. Their culture, their religion, it's all tied together. That's their belief system. So the left wants to keep the borders open and let these people in and give them their freedom of religion and their culture. And, well, eventually they start chopping heads. And maybe that's not the best thing for you or me. I don't want that. It's easy to say, oh, yeah, let them in, keep the borders open. But what if they start practicing their culture here? So, yeah, so the shooter had three objectives. He wanted to defend his European culture, and there is European culture in New Zealand, and that was objective one. But he did that in a way that I don't feel is acceptable at all. I don't think many people would agree with that. The second thing he wanted to, his second objective was to not get killed and to go to court and to plead not guilty as a uniformed combatant. Well, he didn't get killed. and he is going to go to court. And it's going to be quite interesting to see how he defends himself as a uniformed combatant, a soldier, if you would, in a war against the takeover of his culture. So that was number two. Now, number three was interesting. He actually, and you can read this in his manifesto, 75 pages, but maybe I paraphrase it for you. It's a lot easier. People, especially in America, are very lazy. They don't like to do things like read. Neither do I, but I thought it was interesting. And if I'm going to talk about it, I got to know what the hell I'm talking about. So the third thing that he wanted actually was gun control. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but his idea is that by spawning on gun control, that will infuriate the people because they've lost their culture. They're already losing their culture. They're losing their European ways. The churches are closing down. Mosques are opening up everywhere. Sharia law taking over in a lot of countries. In France, there are places where the police won't even go. You can look this up. They won't even go into some places because there are areas that are ruled by Muslims. Now, I have nothing against Muslims, but the people that live in these places that have their culture feel like they're being invaded. So one of the objectives, again, was gun control. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to say, okay, the government will pass more gun control, and that will push people over the edge. They won't be able to take it anymore. They'll start fighting back. And guess what? The New Zealand legislation is going to be, they already have, it's on the news, they've already said that they're going to put in new legislation for new gun control. So the shooter has almost met all of his objectives. Is the one that he's going to, that still is to come forward in the future will be the court hearings where he gets to defend himself as a uniformed combatant. And of course he'll lose, but at least he'll be able to communicate to those people that don't read his manifesto because it's probably hidden by CNN because they don't want you to know what this guy was thinking or what he did. So that's going to be an interesting trial. He's going to self-represent himself, which is a great idea because when you self-represent yourself, you can do and say many things, and that you couldn't if you were being represented. There's a lot of advantages actually to representing yourself. So CNN is, as you know, saying that Trump is a racist, and it's his fault that the shooter in New Zealand that came from Australia, who traveled all over the world, who even said he doesn't even support Trump's policies or anything, that it's his fault. Hello, people are waving at me, giving me a thumbs up. I appreciate that, by the way. Thank you. So what Trump has been doing and is trying to support our borders. He's trying to prevent what has happened in a lot of other countries from happening here in America. He's trying to prevent the violence of both people coming across the border illegally, unchecked, unvetted, ISIS terrorists from chopping your heads off. That's one thing. But he's also trying to prevent the destruction and decay and attack on our culture overall, and people resenting that and maybe taking things into their own hands when they're offended by having their culture attacked. And he's trying to stop that also. So it's both ways. He's trying to do the right thing, trying to help you, trying to help America. So he's called a racist by CNN because of that. So should we enforce our borders? Well, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of clients that have family in other countries, but it's not Mexico or Guatemala, and so they can't just easily jump over the fence. They might be from Cape Verde or Vietnam or or Haiti or all these different places. And they have family and they have good people and they want to come here. And also there are people in these countries that maybe don't have family here, but they want to come here on their own merit. Good people. And I'd love to see them come here, but they can't. They can't because our border's open and a million people will cross our border illegally and get caught. And then we have to pay for them to go to court, then they won't show up and they'll stay. Some of them will show up, maybe. We also have about 1 million people that won't get caught coming across the border this year. That's a lot of people. So instead of people from other countries, it could be good countries, maybe people from where the shooter went off. What was the name of that? But anywhere over the world, New Zealand, there's a lot of people all over the world, good people that would love to come here, and America has open arms for them. But because there's so many people coming from Guatemala bringing their drugs, and Venezuela and Mexico, and it limits us from being able to bring in people from other places all over the world, and that's not fair. That's just not fair. My wife is from a different country. She has family, and I would love for them to come here. But I don't think that's really possible right now. There's too many people coming here illegally. We can't even keep up with them. How can we be taking in large numbers of people from other countries? It's really not fair. So Trump wants to fix that. He wants good people to come in, family members of people that are already here, and people maybe that don't have any family here on a merit-based situation, and that would be very nice. Okay, so what else we have here? So see at CNN on the left, who controls the media, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, controls the media all over America and all over the world. They have stations all over the world. So we got CNN and Obama and the left. They want open borders, no vetting of these people, burning the American flag. The American flag is racist. The American culture is racist. No, you know what? No, these are all lies. CNN is the traitor. CNN is the traitor to America, and they're the ones that are wrong. They're just completely wrong. And but they will tell you, and they'll over and over again these lies to make you think differently. Let me tell you a story. So I was talking earlier about culture and nationalism, and they say nationalism. Trump's a nationalist. He's a racist. That's a bad thing. Oh, it's terrible. He's a nationalist. Well, I was coming back from Japan, and I was on the plane, and there was a stewardess there, and she says to me, "What are you?" And I looked at her and I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she looked at me, she said, "Where are you from? Or where are you coming from?" Something like that. I think it's where you're from or where you're going. No, I think it's where you're going is what she said. It was one of those. Well, let's say it was where are you going? And I said to her, I said, "Well, I'm coming from Japan, but it was just a stopover because I was coming from Vietnam, and I'm on my way to Boston. So I'm not sure how to answer your question, or if that is." I said to her, I said, "Look, you're on Japan Airline. You have a Japan Airline stewardess dress on. You're coming from Japan, from Narita. Odds are," and I don't like to prejudge people, but you're Japanese. I would pretty much guess, though I'm not going to say it, but I think you're Japanese. And she says, "Yes." I said, "Okay." I said, "But I'm coming from Japan." I'm heading to Boston, but I'm actually, there's a stopover. I'm coming from Vietnam. I'm not Japanese, but I think where I'm going next doesn't necessarily mean that that's what I am either. So, you know, I'm not sure what your question is. I said to her, let me ask you a question. Let's a hypothetical. What if your mother was pregnant with you and she was on a business trip in Nigeria and just out of coincidentally had a early pregnancy and delivered you, and you were born in Nigeria? Would you be? And before I could even finish saying Nigerian, she freaked out. She went crazy. No, 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 no! Don't say that! Don't say that! No, 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 no! She put her hands over her ears, and I said to her, "Okay, okay, calm down, calm down." So now, you know, we know that that would not make you Nigerian, or you would reject the being Nigerian because you were born in Nigeria. Before I finish, a little caveat. I come to find out that to be Japanese, they're very nationalistic over there. To actually be Japanese, your parents have to be both mother and father, and grandparents and great-grandparents have to be 100% Japanese. That means 100% Japanese blood, and they have to be born in Japan. So the mere fact that if her mother or father or her were born out of the borders of Japan, she would not be considered Japanese. So when I said that, it really meant the implications were beyond what I was even thinking. So anyway, what I said to her, I said, so I explained to her that, you know, when you ask someone, what are you? There's different things that you could be asking. And so you have to be careful. You know, what is it that you're asking a person when you ask them what they are? Are you asking them their lineage? Are you asking them where their blood is from? Are you asking them their religion? Are you asking them where they're born? Or are you asking them their citizenship? What is it that you're actually asking me? And then she says, I don't know. I never thought about it. And I said, well, think about it. Show me the respect that when you're going to ask me a question, a person that you don't even know, you just met, and you're going to ask them a question like, what are you? Maybe you should know, maybe what is the question that you're asking? So, yeah, it was very interesting. It was a very interesting conversation I had with her. I can't remember how, what she came back with, but we you know, it was a nice conversation. It's good to talk and have a conversation with people and try to get them to think about even what their question, you know. But so for her, Japanese, very strong nationalism, very respected throughout the world, is very nationalistic, good people, hardworking, strong borders, good people. But God forbid if our president should try to have strong borders to protect us and have a nationalism, have strong nationalism, and with American people waving the American flag and not fighting, and have a culture here and be unified. No, that would be racist, according to CNN. We can't have that. No, no. So, no, CNN, you are the traitors. You are the wrongdoers. And American people need to find commonality and have a culture. Okay, so that's something to think about. Now, anyone can call in and express their ideas. I'm halfway through the program right here. And let's play a little music. I'm going to take a little break. Have a Coca-Cola. 4, 3. Oh, I hate the ads. 2, 1. Skip ad. All right. Watch a little more of that. It's a good song. As you walk on by. That's part of the show, the song break. I'm going to introduce a little music into our show. Got Trump right here. Keep us safe. Put him right here. Yeah, there we go. Good. There's a good spot. All right, no one's called in. I was hoping someone would call in, at least, have a discussion, challenge me on any of the topics that I've been talking about, but that has not happened yet. Maybe everybody agrees with everything I've said. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they just want not to talk, but that's okay. If you do want to call in, 617-282-0230. That is my office number, or 508-215-8362 is my cell phone. There's my cell phone. Okay, so next thing, try to get as many topics in as we can, but let's talk about what's happened to our country. Let's talk about what they're talking about on CNN a lot, and what they're teaching in our schools. And that is socialism. Now, socialism. Let me tell you. Let's start with this. I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. You can look this up. In the start of this country, we had the Pilgrims came here. The Pilgrims came to this country, and they have journals. They wrote in these journals. So they stayed here for several years. And they wrote in the journal all these things, and then they put it on the boat and brought it back to Europe, and they still have the books. It said in the journals, it says, we are in this great land, this wonderful land with great resources, great water, great soil, great weather, great everything. It was the Pilgrims. Plymouth Rock, right here in Massachusetts. And said, however, we are dying. We have instituted a system of socialism, and everyone is relying on everyone else to do the work. The buildings are not being built. The crops are not being harvested. We have no land. We have no shelter. We have no food. We are perishing. We are dying. We must do something drastic or we shall all die. So they tried something different, and then they wrote it in their journal, and they put it on the boat, and they have the journals. They still have the journals. And it says, "We are writing to you from this great land again, with these great resources. This time we instituted a new type of economic system, capitalism, where people can own land and profit from their work. Buildings are being built, shelters for people. The crops are being tended. We are now wealthy. And now we have the resources to take care of our needy." So that's the difference between socialism and capitalism. Socialism destroys itself because there's no incentive. And when there's no incentive, well, everyone goes on food stamps and welfare or what have you, which was Obama's idea too. Obama's idea was for everyone to be on food stamps, everyone to have free food, free housing, free care. And so that he would get the votes. It's very easy to say to people, vote for me, I will give you money. And then people vote for you. And then you give them money and they keep voting for you and you stay in power. And the corporations do very well because they just borrow money from China. And these products that are made in China by child labor are sold at your local Target. And you take your check that Obama gives you and you go to Target and buy their things. And the people in America don't work. And eventually the people in America, their wealth goes down. Put it to you this way, make it easy for you. It's not easy thinking about world or global or United States economics. It's a difficult thing to understand. But just imagine if everyone went on welfare, if no one worked, and if everyone just collected food stamps and such forth, what would the result be? We would just have to keep borrowing money from other countries, and then we'd go bankrupt. And then we would be like Venezuela. That's what happened with them. Same thing. How's that sound? That's what CNN wants. That's what Obama wanted. This is not good. And anyone who wants to call me and challenge me on that, oh, that would be great. I would love it for anyone to call me on that one, because that is something that's easily defendable. So what did Obama do? He tried to destroy our economy, put us into debt. He was successful at that. What else did he do? He created ISIS. Wow, that's shocking. How did he do that? Well, let me tell you how he did that. I think you need to know this. Obama went to the Libyan people and said, revolt against your government. I got your back. And the Libyan people did. They revolted, started a civil war against their government. A lot of people died. But then he said to the Syrian people, okay, Syrian people, well, back up for a second. After he said that to the Libyan people, he then went to NATO and he did not go to Congress. When you start a war, you're supposed to go to Congress. He didn't, because he knew they would shoot him down on this. Instead, he went to NATO and said, hey, we got to drop some bombs on Libya. And NATO stupidly went along with that, dropped bombs on the Libyan government. Obama then followed up and went to Syria and said, okay, Syrian people, look I got your back. Do what the Libyan people are doing. So they started a civil war in Syria. So Obama went to NATO again and said, hey, we got to drop bombs on Syria now. Well, this time NATO said, no, we started a war in Libya. We took your advice and look what's happening. We're not going to drop bombs on Syria. So the Syrian people with rocks are up against tanks and chemical weapons, and they got annihilated. Millions of people in Syria died. We don't even know how many. And in addition to that, we also have chemical weapons being used on them. And because the whole area was left in turmoil, and in Afghanistan, the withdrawal of troops there too, that's where ISIS was created. And for 8 years, it flourished and grew, and caused havoc all over the world. And the peoples, some of them good people and some of them ISIS terrorists, left those countries and are invading France and Germany and all of Europe. Everything ties together. You'll see that. It's very interesting. All these things tie together. But it's all about the money and the power. It's all about the money and the power. But this is what the Nazis did. The Nazis controlled the people by controlling first the newspapers, the media. And that's what the left has done here in America. They control CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC. They're all the same. They're all together. They all say the same thing. You control the media first. Then you control free speech. And anyone who talks against you, you shut it down. And that's what's happening. There's no free speech anymore. All the free speech has been shut down. Look at our schools. 95% of the professors are left-wing. And someone wants to go into a school and talk, and they will use violence against that person, just like the Nazis did, to prevent any speech that's against any of their ideas that they're trying to push on people. Nazis, the National Socialist Workers' Party. Yeah, not a good deal. And then what Hitler did, which is exactly what Obama did, is to go after the children. And he did that by infiltrating our schools and only teaching left-wing agenda, socialism. Terrible what's happened. And that's what's happened in our country. Okay, so I'm going to end tonight early because I have a lot of work to do. I have to pay my taxes. And I'm going to, unless someone calls me and wants to talk, but it hasn't happened yet. People are scared. People are scared to talk. But what's I'm a fighter, I'm a soldier. I think this is the best part of the show anyway, is playing some nice music. Music today, there are some good songs, but it's not like it used to be. We used to have just beautiful songs, beautiful, wonderful songs, and you just don't have that anymore. People don't even know what good music is anymore. Ah, no video. Oh, we got someone calling in. Let's see who's calling. Hello, you're live on YouTube. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, caller. We're live on YouTube.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Caller, can you see the video? I have an action figure of Trump, a Trump action figure, and he's got his this is not offensive, by the way. What he's doing here is he's basically telling people that lied, like CNN, that about him, that he had no chance of winning the election and all these terrible things that they said about him, that the American people would never vote for him. And that's what this action figure is all about. His representation here is basically a finger towards the media, who the naysayers who doubted him and talked terribly about him. Terribly. Imagine if they talked these types of things against like Obama or someone on the left. They wouldn't. Caller, before you, I hope I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to write down something here. Okay, go ahead. How can I help you?
Well, I see the action figure. I really like it because it's really a representation of your show and the freedom of speech. even though your action figure doesn't actually move, we can feel the action in your show. We can feel how it sets your show free.
Yeah, I find him I find him quite inspiring, and his positive message of unity in America. There's one thing that the left always pushes on us, and that is diversity, and strength, diversity. But can anyone tell me where having differences and being diverse gives you strength? Maybe.
I think you've got it. I think you've nailed it. You brought diversity of thought and speech, and that's the highest level of diversity. It's not skin color. It's speech. That's the highest level.
Yeah, I mean,
I can feel it.
Yeah, clearly you and I can have different ideas, and that's diverse ideas, and that's wonderful. But I think there's a certain strength that comes with unity. There's a strength to a country where the peoples have certain commonalities. And like Japan, they wave the Japan flag. They have that strength, and they work as a country together. And you don't have to be socialistic. You don't have to share all of your wealth with the other person to have that commonality and to be strong. You have strong in unity, strength in unity, strength in the fact that they all have this common goal, common purposes. I mean, you can still be individualistic, but you don't have to have cultural differences that are based on religion with different laws that just don't cope with each other, and the fighting that ends up resulting because of that lack of commonality. Yes.
Well, I think if we're all patriots, then pro America, there are no differences.
Yeah. Let me tell you another story about that girl on the plane. I was coming back from Japan, and I remember I was talking to her. I forgot earlier, but I just remembered, and you just had me reminded me of this. So I'm talking to the girl coming back from Japan, and because I noticed that that CNN it was all over it was on in the hotel rooms, and they're everywhere. They're all over the world. Not Fox, but CNN. They're everywhere. And I was saying to her, I said, your people, the Japan people, are very strong, unified people. There's strong borders. They don't have terrorist attacks, by the way. They don't. And they don't let people from Syrian terrorists enter their country without being vetted. I mean, they just don't do it. They don't allow that. And I said to her, what would happen? I said, what would happen if a major news organization like CNN in America, but a major news organization in Japan, was to put on the news that your emperor is a racist? Before I could get the last syllable out of she immediately exploded. No. It's like when I told her she wasn't Japanese. No. Don't say that. You can't say that. No. I said, no, I'm not saying he's a racist. I said, but what if a major news organization was to say that? Like they did. No. She completely rejected the idea, the even possibility that could even happen. It was just a non-do. It cannot happen. Because the Japan people look very highly at their leader and support him, and there's no way that the people would even allow such an atrocity that like CNN would do. They wouldn't allow that type of thing. They look very highly at their leader, almost as a spiritual leader, as a god, as a what have you. And yet that's what we're faced with in America is the attack on America and Americans, in American culture, by these treacherous, traitorous news organizations like CNN. Do you feel that way? Do you see that also, or am I the only one who can see it, or are people starting to see that now?
Well, I think what you experienced at 40,000 feet was true patriotism. You know, a true patriot doesn't think that these things are even possible. It's madness.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, we can look to these other countries like Japan and the Japan people, and they always, I mean, imagine this. Do you think that that you go down the streets of Japan, you think you're going to see them waving nothing against the Haitis, I love the Haitis, all right? You're going to see them waving a Haiti flag or waving a Venezuela flag or a Mexican flag or you know, you're not going to see that there. No, you're going to see Japan people waving the Japan flag and being proud to be Japan. As a matter of fact, if you were to scale, if you had a list, a nationalism list, with all the countries in the world, Japan would probably be up there in the top 10. I would imagine. I would say top 5. And but America, sorry America, dead last. You're the worst. If anyone can call in and tell me one country that has less nationalism than America, call in and let me know. Okay? I mean, let's look at Mexico. Not the best country, but I tell you what, the Mexicans are proud to be Mexican, you know? Let's pick another country. Let's we'll pick a country that is just absolute a shithole right now. That's Venezuela. Okay? But even the Venezuelan people are proud to be Venezuelan, okay? And you can see that across the world. The people across the world have their borders. Well, some of them are deteriorated. But that's not the people's fault, okay? We're worse off because our borders are deteriorating. More and more people are coming here illegally. And also CNN has infected our people into thinking that it's not good to be have a nationalistic ideas, to be proud of your country, to think of yourself as American.
I do have a request.
Yeah.
I have a request.
Sure.
The action figure, could you turn it 1/8 turn to the right to face the camera a little more?
Is that good? Can you see that?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, he is beautiful. Maybe I should get a stand. Oh, here we go. Let me do this. I got a cup right here, and I can put him closer for our viewing audience. I'll put him on top of the cup and turn him at the proper angle. Let's see. Oh, don't want him to fall. Oh my God, that would be terrible. Can't have anything happen to him. He is handsome. I mean, he really is. That's not the best picture I've ever seen of him, but it's the whole idea and the action figure was just pretty neat. Yeah, very nice. Well, we almost made it through a whole hour today. Appreciate you calling in. If you have any comments that you'd like to add, or any topic that you want to talk about, by the way, the thing is, I just started this program, and I really I didn't prepare for this. I'm too busy working, and I hope but next time I'll have more topics ready to go, and I'm hoping people will call in and try to challenge me or add to have topics that they'd like to hear about. That would be good.
Well, thank you again, Doctor. It's another great episode of the Pro Patriot, Pro America show. Wonderful.
Yeah, I don't have a name for this. But let me just look at a couple. But thank you for calling in, and I do have a couple more topics here I just came across. I'm just going to briefly talk about, but feel free to call back. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so yeah, I just came across some notes. Some topics. One of them we already touched on. That's assimilation. I just want to briefly say a couple things about that. Do you think if you go to a different country, I think I already touched on this, but if you go to a different country, should you assimilate? should you assimilate? Think about that. And when people come to your country, should they assimilate? And I'm bringing this up because a lot of my clients and people here, even though I'm in a liberal cesspool, way left, even the people here in this area, I've noticed, these are people from other countries that are American now, okay? And even though they vote Democrat, not the Democratic Party, the Democrat Party, by the way. They're not democratic at all. They want to control you and lie to you. They're not democratic. They're just Democrats. The Democrat Party, not Democratic Party, okay? The Republicans are democratic. The Republicans freed the slaves, freed the black people. The Republicans did that. The Democrats were against that, okay? It's the Republicans that gave women the voting powers. The Democrats were against that. They're not democratic at all, okay? So don't let that, we got to be very careful with our word usage, okay? So, yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about, and I touched on this at the previous show, was women. Women, I love women. Women are just, they're wonderful, they're beautiful. And they're a lot nicer looking than men to me, okay? Now, you can be gay or whatever, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. But I think we have to realize that, well, you don't have to realize anything. I realize something, and I hope you will realize that women and men are different. They look different, they have different things going on with their body, okay? They're the ones that have the babies. And there's a women's movement. There was a women's movement that started years and years ago. And the women's movement was to try, well, first there come voting rights, and the Republicans gave them that. Democrats tried to stop it. The women want to have more opportunity, okay? They want to be able to do whatever type of work that they want to do. That's great. That's wonderful. If they want to do modeling, that's good. If they want to do something else, that's wonderful. But the left is so controlling that today they will say that a woman cannot be a model because he's objectifying her body, and that is not good somehow because they say it is. No, it's not. It's a wonderful thing. So a women's movement of the past wanted to have that opportunity to do whatever they chose to do as a profession, to be successful and to be happy. And the left now is saying, no, no, you can't do that. You can't be a model. You can't objectify your body. You can't put on a bathing suit and model that, or you can't, there's a lot of things that you can and can't do. Well, it's not, and that's, and there's a lot of other things too that the original women's movement wanted, and they wanted opportunities, again, to do this, to do that, and also in sports, big thing, because they, you know, they can't compete against men. I mean, they can in some things, but in most, they'll admit that, I mean, women will admit it, that men have, well, scientifically, they have more red blood cells, they have larger lung capacity, they have bigger muscle mass, and a woman physically cannot compete against a man in most sports. They just can't. And so the women wanted and were given, even in the Olympics and the WNBA and the Women's Hockey League, and even in the Olympics, they have are able to compete and do events that are only for women. Well, guess what? Those days are over, because the left is now against you women. Now they're saying that men can say that they're women and compete against you. And, well, watch what happens in the Olympics. It's going to be a travesty. It's going to be terrible. There's going to be all these men that are transgender, I think they call it. And what that means is that all they have to do is say that they're a woman, say that they identify as a woman, and take anti-hormones for 1 year. which is basically going to have very limited effect on their bodies and their ability in sports. And they're going to dominate. They're going to crush the women. And I feel bad for the women. But that's what the left wants. Because it's a voting bloc, and somehow they're going to have to try to convince you women that what they're doing to you in the Olympics and in other sporting events is somehow okay. Don't be fooled. Don't go along with it. It's terrible. It's rotten. It's rotten what they're doing. So now we're over the 1 hour mark. So I'm gonna put on another song. Enjoy this for a little while. And again, another old song. Thank you for tuning in. I don't know how I'm going to continue I'm going to continue, and hopefully everybody love. Thank you.